I never thought I'd be the kind of woman to say something so awful that it would tear my marriage apart in a single, heart-stopping second. But here I am. My name is Alicia. I'm 31 years old, and with one careless, brutal comment, I just shattered everything. Now, I'm sitting in the wreckage of my life, trying to piece together how I got here. It all began on Mark's 35th birthday. It was meant to be a simple, intimate celebration, just him, me, and a handful of our closest friends. I had spent weeks planning every detail, from the decorations to food, even down to the perfect gift, a sleek, elegant watch he had been eyeing for months. I wanted the evening to be special, a night he would remember fondly. For most of the evening, everything was going smoothly. The house was filled with laughter. The warm glow of candles flickered against the walls, and the scent of freshly baked cake filled the air. We were in the middle of singing Happy Birthday, voices blending in harmony, and for a fleeting moment, I felt like I had done everything right. Mark looked happy, relaxed, completely at ease in the warmth of his friends and family. And then, in a single reckless moment, I destroyed it all. I don't even know what triggered it. Maybe it was the way he was smiling so effortlessly, as if life had been nothing but easy for him. Maybe it was a weight of exhaustion pressing down on me, months of bottled-up resentment suffocating me. Maybe it was a feeling that I had been carrying the weight of our lives while he stood in the spotlight, basking in the role of the perfect husband and father. Before I even realized what I was doing, the words spilled from my lips, sharp and unforgiving. "You're lucky I didn't abort our kid." The room went silent. The laughter died, so suddenly it felt like the air had been sucked out of the house. I could feel every pair of eyes turning toward me, wide with shock, with horror, with judgment. Mark's face froze mid-smile. His eyes darkened, his jaw tightened, and for a second, I didn't even recognize him. He didn't yell, didn't demand an explanation. He didn't even blink. Instead, he simply turned, picked up the birthday cake with steady hands, and walked out the front door without a single word. Just like that, he was gone. The silence that followed was unbearable. Tom, his best friend, stared at me like I was a stranger, like I had become something unrecognizable in an instant. Mark's mother, standing in the corner, let out a sharp gasp, her hand flying to her chest as if I had physically struck her. My best friend, Claire, was the first to break the silence, but her voice was thin, uncertain. "Alicia, you need to go after him. This isn't like you." But I couldn't move. I sat frozen in place, my mind reeling, the weight of what I had just said pressing down on me like an anchor dragging me to the bottom of the ocean. How had I let this happen? The next few hours blurred together. One by one, the guests quietly slipped out, too uncomfortable to stay. I was left alone in the empty house, staring at the spot where the cake had been, my thoughts an endless loop of regret. I wanted to cry, to fall apart completely, but I couldn't. This wasn't something that had happened to me. This was something I had done. I kept replaying it in my head, trying to make sense of it. Why had I said something so cruel? Why had I let the resentment fester for so long, until it exploded in the worst way possible? It wasn't really about the pregnancy. It was about everything else. The exhaustion, the invisible weight of responsibilities, the feeling that I was drowning while Mark floated effortlessly above it all, his world untouched by the struggles that consumed me. By the time I snapped out of my daze, it was well past midnight, and I was spiraling into full-blown panic. I had called him at least a dozen times. No answer. I sent him text after text. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Please come home." Nothing. Then, at 1 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message from his brother, Jake. "He's here. Doesn't want to talk to you right now." My heart plummeted. My breath hitched in my throat. I needed to see him. I needed to fix this. But how do you begin to repair something when you're the one who broke it? The next morning, I called again. His phone went straight to voicemail. I sent another text. "Please talk to me. Mark, I'm so sorry. I was out of line. I don't know why I said that." Still nothing. It felt like I was disappearing, like I didn't even exist anymore. The weight of silence was suffocating. But then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, the video appeared. Someone at the party had recorded my outburst. Not the whole evening, not the laughter and the warmth leading up to that moment. just the part where I laughed and said those awful words. And now it was everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, even the local news picked it up. People shared it, commented on it, ripped me apart. What kind of woman says something like that? She didn't even look sorry. That poor man. I was everywhere and nowhere at the same time, trapped in a nightmare I had created. Strangers dissected my life like it was entertainment, like my lowest moment was theirs to consume. I stopped looking at my phone. I stopped leaving the house. I stopped feeling like a person. Then, one evening, Mark finally came home, but not to stay. He had our daughter, Ella, bundled in his arms, her sleepy head resting against his shoulder. He didn't look at me as he stepped inside, didn't say a word. He simply walked past me, placed her gently in my arms, kissed the top of her head, and then turned to leave. I tried to speak, tried to reach for him, to beg him to come home. But before I could, he was gone. The silence that followed was unbearable. I was left with nothing but the empty space in our house. Nothing but the quiet, aching presence of marriage that had been shattered in an instant. The divorce papers arrived a few days later. Mark wanted full custody of Ella. He wanted to be the one to raise her. I couldn't blame him. After everything I had said, everything I had done, how could he trust me to be the mother she deserved? I tried to fight it at first. I wanted to keep her. I loved her. But deep down, I knew the truth. Mark had always been the better parent. He had always been steady, patient, present. He had loved fatherhood in a way I never could, never did, the way I had treated him. The way I had let my resentment poison everything between us. How could I ask him to let me be an equal part of her life? In the end, I agreed to share custody every other weekend, one night a week. It was better than nothing, but it still felt like losing everything. 3 months passed, and I was still trying to pick up the pieces of my life. The house felt hollow, like a ghost town filled with echoes of what used to be. The video never truly went away, still lingering in corners of the internet. A permanent stain on my name. The shame of what I had done clung to me like a shadow. But in a strange way, it forced me to confront myself, to see the truth. I had never wanted to be a mother. I had done it because I thought I was supposed to, because it was the next step, the thing a good wife did. But deep down, it had never been what I wanted. And now, I had to live with that truth. Before the final custody hearing, Mark and I met one last time. We sat across from each other in a small, quiet cafe. The air between us was thick, with everything we had lost. He looked tired, the weight of the past few months etched into the lines of his face. I wanted to apologize, but the words felt too small, too fragile for the damage I had done. Still, I forced him out. I'm sorry for what I said. I whispered. I never meant it, but I understand why it hurt you. He didn't respond right away. He just watched me, studying my face like he was seeing me for the first time in years. Finally, he exhaled, his eyes softening, just a little. I know. His voice was quiet. But it wasn't just about the words, Alicia. It was everything. I gave you everything, and you never really wanted it. I nodded, swallowing back the lump in my throat, because he was right. In the end, the court granted him primary custody, and as much as it hurt, I knew it was the right choice. Ella deserved a mother who wanted to be there for her completely, not someone who had spent years pretending. I still think about that night, about the moment when everything fell apart. One stupid comment, one careless second, and I lost everything. But maybe, just maybe, it was the wake-up call I needed. Maybe now I could stop pretending. Stop lying to myself about the life I had tried to force myself into. Maybe one day I would find my way back to who I really was. For now, all I could do was face the truth. I had lost everything. But in the wreckage, I had finally found something real. The truth about myself.